Baitur Sat, the adventure map. Sam was an 8-year-old boy with a wild imagination and a best friend named Max, a scruffy, energetic dog who followed him everywhere. One Saturday afternoon, while playing in his backyard, Sam had a brilliant idea. "Max, let's make a treasure map," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Max wagged his tail in agreement, always up for an adventure. They rushed into the house where Sam grabbed an old yellowed piece of paper from his art supplies. Sam sketched mountains, forests, rivers, and winding paths, with the treasure marked by a giant red X. Every corner of the map had a story, places where you could encounter secret caves, hidden bridges, and enchanted trees. As Sam worked, he imagined a grand adventure filled with excitement, puzzles, and treasure. When the map was complete, Sam looked at Max and grinned. "We can't do this alone, Max. Let's invite everyone." With a stack of copies of his treasure map, Sam and Max set off around the neighborhood, knocking on doors. The first door they knocked on was Mrs. Parker's. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Parker. We've made a treasure map. Do you want to go on an adventure with us?" Sam asked eagerly, holding up the map. Mrs. Parker, always busy with her work as a lawyer, smiled kindly but shook her head. "That's sweet, Sam, but I have too much work to do. Maybe some other time." Sam shrugged and went on to the next house, Mr. Thompson's. Mr. Thompson, a retired accountant, frowned as he peered at the map over his glasses. "A treasure hunt? For kids?" he grumbled, shaking his head. "Not for me, Sam." Door after door, Sam faced the same response. The adults were too busy or too serious for a silly treasure hunt. Feeling a little defeated, Sam sat down on the curb, petting Max's head. "I guess they don't know how to have fun anymore, huh, Max?" But Sam wasn't ready to give up just yet. He left a copy of the map in every mailbox, hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone would come around. The next morning, Sam and Max set off on their adventure. They followed the map, crossing the park and pretending to dodge giant boulders and deep ravines. They laughed, cheered, and ran toward the spot where the X marked the treasure. Then, out of nowhere, Sam heard a familiar voice. "Wait for me!" He turned to see Mrs. Parker, dressed in her usual business suit, but with a curious smile on her face, holding the map. Behind her came Mr. Thompson, carrying a notebook and a pencil. "We thought we'd give it a try," Mrs. Parker said, a twinkle in her eye. Sam's heart soared as more neighbors appeared, all carrying the treasure map he had created. Soon, there was a whole group of adults, laughing and following the path Sam had drawn. As they ventured deeper into the adventure, something incredible happened. The serious expressions on their faces faded away, replaced by joy and excitement. Mr. Thompson, who hadn't smiled in ages, was laughing out loud, sketching the enchanted trees Sam had imagined. Mrs. Parker, who was always rushing somewhere, was running through the park barefoot, grinning like a child. Even Mr. Wilson, the grumpy old man from down the street, was playfully arguing about the best way to find the treasure. Together, they followed the map to the spot where Sam had buried the treasure, a box filled with colorful marbles, old coins, and candy. When they opened the box, the adults cheered as if they had found a real pirate's fortune. "That was amazing, Sam," Mrs. Parker said, breathless from the adventure. "I haven't had this much fun in years." Mr. Thompson nodded, still drawing in his notebook. "You know, I used to love sketching when I was a kid. I'd forgotten how much joy it brings." Sam beamed as he looked around at the grown-ups, now laughing and playing like children again. His simple treasure map had done something magical. It had reminded them that life didn't have to be all work and seriousness. There was always room for a little adventure, no matter how old you were. As the adults headed home, still talking excitedly about the adventure, Sam sat down with Max by the treasure chest. "See, Max? They just needed a little reminder." Max barked in agreement, wagging his tail as Sam gave him a treat from the treasure box. It had been a perfect day, full of imagination, laughter, and the kind of magic that only comes when people remember how to play. From that day forward, the adults in Sam's neighborhood looked forward to his adventures. They learned to balance their busy lives with moments of joy and wonder, all thanks to a little boy, his dog, and a treasure map drawn from the heart.